Okay, I just wanted to offer you guys some extra help on this in case you were struggling. So the basic form of the equation, we have our A times sine or cosine, and then inside the parentheses you have B, outside a second set of parentheses, x minus c, close those parentheses, and then plus d. So A and D, the two numbers that are outside those parentheses, this is the amplitude, so that's a vertical stretch. So that's the amplitude of our graph. And plus D is the vertical shift up and down. And so this is the distance, all of the vertical distances. And so where is the middle line? That's D. Where is the distance from the middle line to the top and the middle line to the bottom? That's A. And then B and C both control horizontal things. And so B controls your period, so it stretches or compresses your period. And so it increases the wavelength or it decreases it to make it smaller. Or it takes your graph and it shifts it left and right on your screen. And so here we talk about all of those things. A also could be a reflection over your x-axis. B could also be a reflection over your y-axis. I'm not going to do that to you guys, but just know that that's what it's doing if there's a negative inside. And then here's our new equilibrium. So D, D is our new middle line. And then from that middle line is the A value above and below that new equilibrium. So everything that you labeled in class on Monday, that's where those numbers come from. So I'm going to walk back through the graph of the ones we did in class, now that you've practiced some, just to see if you are doing some of these things or if you could be doing some things a little better. Oh, that's the other thing. And then cosine starts at the top value and sine starts at the middle value. So cosine doesn't start at 0, 1, because if we've taken that and we've stretched it out, now 0, 1 is not a 0, 1 anymore. It's stretched. And so it's at the top is where it starts, and sine starts at the middle or the equilibrium. So looking through this one that we had graphed together in class. And so the first thing we have to pay attention to is this plus 1. And so I have to graph my new equilibrium line at this plus 1. It's outside, and so it's shifting my graph up 1, and so that's my new middle. Plot that line. I promise it will help you. If you don't plot that line, you don't know where your middle is and where everything is going to oscillate around. Then, from there, you're taking the amplitude. Okay, so I labeled this as 1, I labeled this as 2. From 1, I'm going up 3 units and down 3 units. And so I have another line at 4, that's my maximum, and I have another line at -2, that's my minimum. And so I have all 3 of these lines labeled so that I know where my points need to go. And so that's the new middle and my amplitude. Then I need to figure out what the period is and where I'm going to start. And so the period comes from this number that's in front of x. Just like in our equation, back a few pages, this number in front of x. So just because there's nothing there doesn't mean there isn't a number. There's a 1. So I have to take 2 pi and divide it by 1, and so it's just 2 pi. And so I label my x-axis using 2 pi's, but it's not 2 pi, 4 pi, 6 pi, 8 pi. It's 2 pi broken up into 4 pieces, minimum. Okay, you can break it into 8 pieces if you'd rather, but it has to be 4 at the very least, or some multiple of 4. And the reason we're doing that is because at each fourth, I'm going to have a coordinate. Just like on my unit circle, as I go around my unit circle, I have the highest point, middle point, lowest point, back to the middle. Highest point, middle point, lowest point, back to the middle. Same thing here. And so I need to know where those values are going to occur. First fourth, second fourth, third fourth, and then the whole one period. So if I know where I'm starting, and I know where one cycle ends, I am going to plot a point at each quarter line on one of the other lines that I've already labeled. Notice I don't have coordinates on my x-axis because that's not one of my important critical lines. My maximum, my equilibrium, or my minimum. Those are the only coordinates that you are plotting. And if you are not plotting your coordinates, you are not following directions, and you need to plot those coordinates. Okay? Otherwise, it just looks like a little squiggle on your screen, and that's not going to cut it. Okay? So I'm starting at the middle line because it's sine. And so I've taken care of the 3, that's my amplitude. I've taken care of sine, that's where I'm starting. I've taken care of my period, there's no shift left and right, but I do have a shift up, and I took care of that. And so now, start at the middle. Start at the middle, then I go up to the top point, because there's not been a reflection, so I'm not going to go down first. I'm going to go up first. So middle, then to the top point at the first quadrant, then back to the middle at the next quadrant. Notice that I also didn't go from top to bottom immediately. I have to stop back at the middle before I get to the bottom point down here. So middle, top, middle, and then starting at the middle, bottom, back to the middle. And so that spaces out my graph really nicely so that I end in the same place that I did at 0, so at 2 pi. So 0 and 2 pi should be at the same place in the same orientation that I was before. And so now I'm going to go back top, middle, bottom, middle. Top, middle, bottom, middle, if I wanted to keep going. Okay, so hopefully that helps kind of thinking through that a little bit more. Now that you've seen some things and made some mistakes, maybe this will help. Hopefully it does. Good luck.